You know, with our taxidermy, it's very important that that specimen is almost looking at you with his eyes, and it's quite emotional at times because it's not just putting eyes in, it's making eyes that are that specimen, or Bong Su in this case.
So Bong Su was our adult male elephant that we had at Melbourne Zoo, and he arrived in 1977. He was a very much loved member of the Melbourne elephant herd.
I had the privilege of working with Bong Su for close to 18 years, and whenever you get to spend that amount of time with any animal, you really develop a very close bond, and just the day-to-day stuff where we were hanging out together.
Sadly, Bong Su passed away in 2017, and there was an offer to have Bong Su donated to the museum as long as we used Bong Su as a legacy to showcase his species and also to honour Bong Su and the plight that they have in their natural environment.
In this gallery, what I'm doing is working with a range of content experts, with designers, to try and see how can we make a story that makes people feel like they're part of the natural world. And I think the awe and connection that we can find with Bong Su really helps us feel empathy for the whole of the natural world.
When we first got that phone call, all of a sudden it was very daunting, just thinking of what are we going to do, how do we go through this, and knowing that it's our responsibility as a preparation department to produce something that is so beautiful that even the zookeepers would look at Bong Su and just say, that is Bong Su. It's not just a generic elephant, it is actually Bong Su. So I sculpted Bong Su to a 1/10 scale, and from this model we made a rubber replica, this one. So we took that to the zoo so that the zoo could bend Bong Su around and say, could we please have Bong Su in this pose?
They were so respectful of wanting to represent him as himself, and that was everything down to how did he stand, how was his gait, how was his ears positioned, where would his trunk normally be, and they're intimate details that we knew from seeing him every day, 365 days.
So this is Bong Su's eye, so every little wrinkle there we've got back in the right position. So all these very important things, even down to the tip of Bong Su's trunk. Details like that are Bong Su. What we did notice with Bong Su is how many freckles he had, like freckled all over. But after the taxidermy process, all those little freckles, they fade away, almost become invisible. So we have to sit down months putting every little dot back in the right spot to make Bong Su who he is. Once the eyes were set in there, yeah, it just sort of felt like, oh wow, you know, we've done you justice, Bong Su, you know, with these eyes.
We were so grateful to be invited to visit Bong Su. It was a really emotional moment, and when we went around the corner and you saw him for the first time, it took my breath away a little bit.
When I walked around him, something struck me that was strange about it, and what I realised was that he wasn't looking at me anymore. And I had to take stock and recognise that it is still him in his all magnificent height and stature and size.
Yeah, it's hard to explain how to see something you care so deeply about in such a real form, and having that moment again to say hello and then goodbye.
That relationship was just so incredibly special to me. I was able to be with him at the very end of his life, and forever I'll be grateful for that. As long as I'm caring for these elephants, I'll be inspired by him.
Working with an animal like Bong Su really strikes a love and desire to want to continually do better and make sure that we're providing the best level of care we can for our elephants here.
And that really led us to this world-class facility here at Werribee Open Range Zoo. Anytime we see people enter the zoo to come and see the elephants, they are left being inspired. And that's a real goal of ours, is that people start to build this connection with an animal, and then they want to learn more about the species and what they can do to help conserve them.
The whole idea of Bong Su is to tell a story. Like a lot of our taxidermy, there's a story behind every one, and how we treat our planet is directly affecting, you know, these animals.
Bong Su represents all elephants, really. We just have one Bong Su in front of us, but out in the world there are thousands of these Asian elephants. So he represents all of those other elephants and just how important they are to the natural world and the environments they live in.